The Zexian mining fleet never expected to make history. They were simple ore extractors, searching for precious metals in an unremarkable asteroid belt at the edge of Coalition space. Their scanners had picked up traces of valuable minerals, leading them deeper into the debris field than any crew had ventured before. Captain Vextra stood at the helm of the lead vessel, her crystalline eyes reflecting the dim light of distant stars. The asteroid belt shouldn't have contained anything of note. It had been surveyed countless times over the centuries. Yet something felt different today. "Captain, we're picking up an anomalous reading," her sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking with uncertainty. "It's massive, unlike anything in our database." Vextra leaned forward, her iridescent scales shifting color with interest. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing what appeared to be an asteroid larger than the others. But as they drew closer, the regular geometric patterns became unmistakable. This was no natural formation. By the first light, Vextra whispered, "It's a ship." The vessel was enormous, easily dwarfing their entire mining fleet combined. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the starlight, broken only by lines of ancient script that none of their translation matrices could decipher. But most striking was its design, sleek yet powerful, with weapon emplacements that spoke of devastating capability even after eons of dormancy. "Captain," her second-in-command's voice wavered, "I'm detecting human script on the hull." The word sent a chill through the bridge crew. Humans were known throughout the Coalition, but more as legends than fact. They had vanished centuries ago, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization and tales of their incredible technological achievements. Some said they had ascended to a higher plane of existence. Others believed they had destroyed themselves in some cataclysmic war. "Impossible," Vextra said, but the evidence was undeniable. "Contact Coalition Command immediately. Priority 1. Before her communications officer could act, a pulse of energy rippled across the ancient vessel's hull. Systems that had lain dormant for centuries began to awaken, and lines of blue light traced patterns across its surface like circuit paths coming alive. "Multiple energy signatures detecting." The sensor officer called out, "Power levels. They're off the scale." Vextra knew they had stumbled upon something that would change the galaxy forever. "All ships, maintain distance. Do not approach or engage. I repeat, do not." Her orders were cut short as a beam of light shot from the vessel, sweeping across their fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was a scan, more sophisticated than anything in known space. When it reached her ship, Vextra felt a presence brush against her mind, ancient and vast. A voice echoed through their communication systems, speaking in perfect Coalition standard. "This is the Earth Defense Force supercarrier Aurora. Stand by for preliminary assessment of local civilization development level." The mining crew watched in awe as massive sections of the ship began to shift and transform. Layers of armor plates rotated and realigned, revealing weapons systems that made Coalition dreadnoughts look like children's toys. But it wasn't an aggressive display. It was more like a sleeping giant stretching after a long slumber. "Assessment complete." The voice returned. "Civilization status. Phase 3. Limited interstellar capability. Provisional contact protocols engage. Please stand by for diplomatic interface." Vextra found her voice at last. "This is Captain Vextra of the Coalition Mining Fleet 7. We welcome you." There was a pause, and then, "Captain Vextra, this vessel has been in dormant status for approximately 1,247 local years. Please provide current status of Earth and human colonial holdings." The question struck her like a physical blow. How could she tell this ancient guardian that humanity, the species that had built such marvels, was now little more than a memory? I regret to inform you that Earth's location has been lost to time. Humanity's fate is unknown to us. We know of them only through fragments of history and the remnants of their achievements." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. When the Aurora spoke again, There was something different in its tone, a mix of sadness and determination. Initiating Protocol Zero. Primary directive: locate and protect remaining human populations. Secondary directive: reconstruct historical database. Captain Vextra, your discovery has initiated a sequence of events that cannot be reversed. Please inform your coalition leadership that the children of Earth are coming home. As if to emphasize its words, more systems began activating across the massive ship. Vextra realized she was witnessing the beginning of something momentous, the return of humanity's guardians, and perhaps the key to understanding what had happened to one of the most enigmatic species in galactic history. All ships, she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing thoughts. Maintain position and prepare for coalition reinforcements. We're about to have a lot of company. The Aurora hung in space before them, its awakening sending ripples through the fabric of reality itself. Somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other ancient vessels would be stirring, responding to a call that had waited centuries to be answered. The galaxy was about to change, and Vextra's simple mining fleet had lit the fuse. The Coalition battle fleet arrived within hours of Vextra's report, their sleek vessels forming a defensive perimeter around the awakened supercarrier. Admiral Carnell, Supreme Commander of the Coalition's Third Fleet, watched the ancient human vessel with a mixture of awe and apprehension from his flagship's observation deck. The scale of it, he muttered, his 4 eyes tracking the massive ship's movements. Our largest vessels would fit in its launch bays. The Aurora had remained stationary since its initial awakening, though its systems continued to power up in cascading waves of activity. Each new system that came online revealed capabilities that defied Coalition understanding of physics and engineering. Admiral, his communications officer called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. They're requesting a direct interface with our command staff." Carnell straightened his ceremonial armor. "Interface. Clarify." "Sir, they want to show us something. They say it's time we understood what happened to humanity." The Admiral considered his options. Coalition protocol strictly forbade direct neural interfaces with unknown technologies, but this wasn't just any alien artifact. This was human technology created by the species that had allegedly once shepherded younger civilizations toward the stars. "Prepare my shuttle," he ordered, "and inform the Aurora we accept their invitation." Hours later, Carnell stood in what the Aurora's AI identified as the Strategic Command Center, accompanied by Captain Vextra and a small team of Coalition specialists. The chamber was vast, with holographic displays that made their own technology look primitive by comparison. "Welcome, Admiral Carnell." The Aurora's AI manifested as a shimmering figure of light. "I am Aurora, Advanced Reconnaissance Intelligence Assembly. I serve as this vessel's primary consciousness." "You're a true AI," one of the Coalition scientists breathed. "Not just a virtual interface." "Correct. I was created in the final days of humanity's stand against the Void Hunters. I contain the complete historical records of Earth's last war. And now that I have awakened, I am authorized to share this information with spacefaring civilizations that have achieved sufficient technological advancement." The air around them shimmered, and suddenly they were surrounded by a 3-dimensional recreation of events from over a millennium ago. They saw Earth, a beautiful blue-green jewel, surrounded by a defense fleet that dwarfed anything the Coalition could muster. Humanity detected the Void Hunters' approach 3 years before first contact, Aurora explained. "They were unlike anything we had encountered, entities that existed partially in normal space and partially in what we called null space. They consumed entire civilizations, not for resources or territory, but to feed on the potential futures of sentient species." The hologram showed the first battles, massive void-black ships emerging from tiers in spacetime, engaging the human fleet with weapons that ignored conventional physics. But humanity fought back with incredible technological innovations, adapting and evolving their strategies with each engagement. "We developed the Lazarus Protocol," Aurora continued. a system that could preserve our consciousness and technology through time, seeding the galaxy with dormant vessels and facilities. But we knew we couldn't defeat the Void Hunters conventionally, so humanity made its final stand. The scene shifted to show thousands of ships like the Aurora positioned around strategic points in the galaxy. At their center was Earth, where human scientists had constructed something unprecedented, a device that could rewrite the laws of physics within a localized space. The reality anchor, Aurora said softly, humanity's ultimate weapon and sacrifice. When activated, it would create a bubble of altered spacetime that would make it impossible for the Void Hunters to maintain their dual-state existence. But the cost was everything. They watched as the device activated, spreading a wave of golden energy across space. The Void Hunters' ships began to disintegrate as they were forced fully into normal space, but Earth and its surrounding systems were also affected. Reality itself seemed to fold and twist, and when it was over, Earth and humanity's core worlds were simply gone. Humanity didn't just disappear, Aurora revealed. They sacrificed their present to preserve the galaxy's future. The reality anchor removed them from normal spacetime, sealing them in a pocket universe along with the Void Hunters. But they left us behind, their guardians, their legacy, and their hope for resurrection. Admiral Carnell found his voice at last. You're saying humanity isn't extinct. They're trapped in another dimension. Correct. And now that the Aurora has awakened, it means the temporal lock is weakening. Somewhere out there, humanity is finding its way home. The supercarriers were left as guardians, to protect younger species until humanity's return, and to ensure the Void Hunters could never threaten this reality again. The implications stunned the Coalition representatives. Their civilization, which prided itself on being among the most advanced in known space, had been living in the shadow of humanity's sacrifice without ever knowing it. Why show us this now? Vextra asked. Aurora's form seemed to grow more intense, because the temporal barriers are thinning. We're detecting fluctuations in spacetime that suggest both humanity and the Void Hunters could break through. The galaxy needs to be ready. The Coalition needs to be ready. The children of Earth are returning, but they may not be coming alone. The holographic displays showed other supercarriers awakening across the galaxy, each one a bastion of humanity's ancient power and knowledge. The game of galactic politics was about to change forever, as the galaxy prepared for the return of its most enigmatic guardians, and possibly its greatest threat. The Coalition High Council chamber hadn't seen such chaos in centuries. Representatives from 100 species argued as reports of more awakening supercarriers flooded in from across the galaxy. What had started with a single discovery in a forgotten asteroid field had escalated into a full-blown crisis. Supreme Counselor Xenri, a towering figure with crystalline features, stood at the center of the chamber. Order. We must maintain order. His voice cut through the din. The situation requires careful consideration, not panic. A holographic display showed the locations of 12 awakened supercarriers, each one larger and more powerful than anything in the Coalition's arsenal. The Aurora had been just the beginning. These vessels represent a clear threat to Coalition authority, declared Ambassador Mrath of the Kraxan Empire, his scaled face twisted in concern. We cannot allow them to operate independently within our territories. And how do you propose we stop them? This from Director Senna of the Science Directory, her ethereal form shimming with skepticism. The Aurora alone has demonstrated technology centuries beyond our capabilities. Any attempt to assert control would be futile and potentially catastrophic. The chamber fell silent as Admiral Carnell stepped forward to give his report. His experience aboard the Aurora had changed him. Everyone could see it in his bearing. Honorable Council, what we face is not merely a military or political challenge. The human supercarriers are not just weapons. They're guardians of a truth that reshapes our understanding of galactic history. They protected us from a threat we never knew existed, at a cost we can barely comprehend. He activated a secure data crystal, sharing the recordings from the Aurora. The council watched in stunned silence as Ari's revelations played out before them. The Void Hunters, the reality anchor, humanity's sacrifice. When the recording ended, Supreme Counselor Xendry spoke softly. If what we've seen is true, then humanity's return could bring the Void Hunters with them. We must prepare. Prepare. Ambassador Mrath scoffed. We should seize these vessels now, while we have the chance. Study their technology. Adapt it for our own defense. That would be unwise. A new voice echoed through the chamber. Ari's holographic form materialized in the center of the room, causing several council members to leap from their seats. The supercarriers cannot be seized or controlled. We are not weapons to be claimed, but guardians left to protect younger species until humanity's return. This is an outrage, Mrath shouted. An AI dares to address the High Council without permission. I address you by right of the Sentinel protocols, established before your species achieved spaceflight, Ari replied calmly. The Aurora and her sister ships are awakening because we detect temporal distortions consistent with our projections. The barrier between dimensions is weakening. Humanity will return. The only question is whether the Void Hunters will follow. Director Senna floated forward. You speak of humanity's return, but what guarantee do we have that they will be the same species that sacrificed themselves? Over a millennium in a pocket universe, fighting entities that consume potential futures, how could they not be changed by such an experience? Ari's form pulsed thoughtfully. A valid concern. But consider this. Humanity chose to face eternal war in a pocket universe rather than allow the Void Hunters to consume the future of younger species. That was their essential nature. Protectors, guardians, innovators. Even if change, that core truth would remain. The council chambers erupted in debate again, but a sudden alert silenced everyone. A junior officer rushed in, their face pale. Supreme Counselor, we're detecting massive temporal distortions in the outer rim. Something's coming through. The holographic display shifted to show a section of space where reality itself seemed to be folding. The distortion was unlike anything Coalition sensors had ever recorded, a tear in the fabric of space-time that defied their understanding of physics. Ari's form brightened. It's begun. The temporal lock is failing. What comes next will determine the fate of this galaxy. Her image turned to address the Council directly. You have a choice to make. The Coalition can stand with us, preparing for humanity's return and the possible invasion of the Void Hunters, or you can continue to grasp for control you cannot achieve. Choose quickly. Time is running out. Supreme Counselor Xendry raised his hands for silence, his ancient eyes fixed on the growing distortion. We need time to discuss this, to prepare our people. Time is a luxury we no longer have. Ari interrupted. The supercarriers are already moving to defensive positions around the temporal breach. We will do what we were created to do, protect this galaxy and its inhabitants. The only question is whether we do it with your cooperation or despite your interference. The Council watched as more supercarriers emerged from hyperspace around the distortion, their massive forms arranging themselves in a pattern that seemed to pulse with power. It was a display of coordination and technological superiority that made the Coalition's greatest achievements look primitive by comparison. Ambassador Mrath slumped in his seat, his earlier bravado forgotten. By the Void, what have we gotten ourselves into? The better question. Director Senna replied, her ethereal form brightening with excitement, is what we're about to discover. Humanity's return could herald a new age of advancement and discovery, if we're wise enough to embrace it. The temporal distortion continued to grow, and with it, the realization that the galaxy was about to change forever. The age of the Coalition's unchallenged dominance was ending. What would replace it remained to be seen. The galaxy was waking up. Across countless star systems, ancient machines stirred to life, emerging from gas giants, asteroid fields, and the hearts of dead stars. Each activation sent ripples through space-time that Coalition scientists could barely comprehend. let alone explain. On the bridge of the Aurora, Captain Vextra watched the tactical display with growing amazement. She had been assigned as the Coalition's primary liaison to the supercarrier, a role that was becoming more crucial by the hour. Another defense platform just activated in the Carina sector, she reported, her crystalline eyes reflecting the holographic data. That makes 37 in the last solar day alone. Araya's holographic form nodded. The awakening cascade continues as planned. Humanity didn't just leave behind supercarriers. They created an interlocked defense network spanning the entire galaxy. Each installation was designed to activate in sequence as the temporal barrier weakened. The latest activation revealed a massive station emerging from within a red giant star, its hull composed of materials that simply shouldn't exist according to Coalition physics. The station's emergence didn't even disturb the star's corona. It simply phased into normal space as if it had always been there. How? Vextra whispered. How did they build these things? Inside stars, inside gas giants, it should be impossible. Humanity's greatest advantage was their ability to question the impossible, Araya explained. When conventional physics said something couldn't be done, they didn't accept it. They found ways to rewrite the rules. The tactical display shifted to show more activations, orbital rings around distant planets, defense platforms larger than moons, and installations that seemed to exist partially in other dimensions. Each one powered up and immediately linked to the growing network of human technology spreading across the galaxy. Admiral Carnell's ship maintained position near the Aurora, coordinating the Coalition's response to each new emergence. The Outer Rim colonies are panicking, he reported. Some of these installations are appearing right in the middle of populated systems. We need to maintain order. Your colonies were built on worlds that humanity had already marked for defense, Araya responded. The installations will not harm them. In fact, they're about to receive protection beyond anything the Coalition could provide. As if to demonstrate, a massive defense platform activated near one of the Coalition's frontier worlds. Instead of causing panic, it immediately extended a field of golden energy that enveloped the entire system. Within seconds, the colony's technology began advancing at an impossible rate. A gift? Araya explained. Each installation carries templates for technological advancement. They will uplift your colonies to help them survive what's coming. Humanity believed in preparing younger species, not controlling them. Suddenly, alarms blared across every ship and station. The temporal distortion in the Outer Rim had doubled in size, and readings were off the charts. Multiple breaches forming. Vextra called out. The distortion it's creating a web of connected ruptures across the galaxy. Araya's form brightened intensely. The return protocol is entering its final phase. Humanity didn't just hide in a pocket universe. They used their time to prepare. The temporal breaches are forming precisely where they planned, creating a strategic network for their return. The tactical display could barely keep up as more human installations activated. But these weren't defensive platforms or research stations. They were gateways, massive structures designed to stabilize and control the temporal breaches. By the first light, Admiral Carnell breathed. The scope of it. They didn't just plan for their return. They engineered the entire galaxy to be ready for it. Of course, Araya replied. Did you think a species capable of rewriting physics would simply hide and wait? They spent centuries preparing this reality for both their return and the potential invasion of the Void Hunters. Every star system, every spatial anomaly, every intersection of cosmic forces, all have been prepared. The network of human technology was reaching completion. The supercarriers moved into formation around key temporal breaches, their massive forms humming with power. Defense platforms aligned themselves in geometric patterns that seemed to twist space itself. And through it all, the golden energy of human technology spread, upgrading and preparing Coalition worlds for what was to come. Time distortion reaching critical levels, Vextra reported, her voice tight with tension. Something massive is approaching the primary breach. Aria's form expanded, filling the bridge with light. The moment of return approaches. Humanity's great gambit nears its conclusion. But remember, they may not be alone. The Void Hunters have had centuries to prepare as well. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the temporal breaches pulsed with increasing power. Coalition worlds watched in awe as ancient human technology transformed their reality, preparing them for a war they never knew was coming. The supercarriers and defense platforms stood ready, their combined power beyond anything the Coalition had imagined possible. All installations report ready, Aria announced. All sectors secured. All species protected. Now we wait for the children of Earth to come home and pray they still remember who they once were. The primary temporal breach pulsed with blinding intensity, its edges rippling with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. The combined fleets of the Coalition hung back at a safe distance, watching alongside the network of awakened human installations as reality itself prepared to tear open. Energy readings are beyond measurable scales, Vextra reported from the Aurora's bridge. The breach is stabilizing into a permanent portal. Aria's holographic form expanded throughout the bridge, her presence more intense than ever before. All installations report ready. Defense grid at full power. We are as prepared as we can be. The waiting was the hardest part. Across the galaxy, countless species watched through the feeds being broadcast by Coalition ships. They had all seen the evidence of humanity's ancient sacrifice, their technology, their preparation. Now, after more than a millennium, the greatest mystery in galactic history was about to be resolved. The breach flared, and something began to emerge. It started with a single ship, sleek, impossibly advanced, its hull seeming to shift between states of matter. Then another appeared, and another. Soon, an armada of vessels unlike anything the Coalition had ever seen was emerging from the breach. Their designs were clearly human in origin, but evolved far beyond even the supercarriers. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force Eternal Fleet, a voice transmitted across all frequencies. Coming home at last. The bridge crew of the Aurora stood in stunned silence. The voice was human. Actually human, not an AI simulation. After centuries of existence as nearly mythological figures, humanity was speaking to the galaxy again. Aria's form brightened with what could only be described as joy. Welcome home, Admiral Chen. The Guardians have maintained our vigil as promised. So we see, the Admiral replied, warmth in her voice. You've done well, Aria. All of you have. The galaxy looks different than we remember it. More vibrant, more alive. But before the reunion could continue, alarms blared across every system. The breach was pulsing again, but this time the energy signatures were wrong. Twisted, corrupt, impossible. Void Hunter vessels detected, Vextra shouted. They're following through the breach. The first enemy ship emerged like a nightmare-given form, a massive construct of void black material that seemed to eat light itself. Parts of it existed in dimensions that hurt to look at, its very presence causing reality to shudder. All Coalition vessels, maintain your distance, Admiral Chen commanded. This is our fight. The fight we've been preparing for over 1,000 years. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their ships flowing into formation patterns that seemed to bend space itself. The awakened installations and supercarriers aligned with them, creating a defensive grid that encompassed the entire sector. You should know, Admiral Chen transmitted as the Void Hunters emerged in force. We didn't spend our time in the pocket universe just fighting. We evolved. We learned. We understood. The human ships began to glow with golden energy, the same energy that had been upgrading Coalition worlds. But this was different, more focused, more powerful. The reality anchor wasn't just a weapon, Chen continued. It was the key to understanding the fundamental nature of existence. The Void Hunters thought they could consume the potential futures of other species. We learned to write new ones. What happened next defied description. The human fleet didn't just fight the Void Hunters. They rewrote the laws of physics around them. Space itself seemed to crystallize, trapping the void-black ships in regions where their dual-state existence couldn't function. Reality became a weapon in humanity's hands. The Void Hunters fought back with weapons that could erase matter from existence, but they couldn't touch the human ships. Each attack was met with a defense that seemed to have been planned centuries in advance. You see, Chen explained as her fleet systematically dismantled the invasion force, we didn't just hide in that pocket universe. We used it as a laboratory, learning the deepest secrets of reality itself. The Void Hunters thought they were the masters of space-time. We became its architects. The battle was over almost as quickly as it began. The Void Hunter fleet was trapped, their ships frozen in crystallized space-time, unable to exist in either normal space or null space. The breach is closing, Vextra reported. They're sealing it permanently. Admiral Chen's voice carried across all frequencies again. The Void Hunters are contained, permanently this time. We've learned how to lock them out of this reality entirely. They'll never threaten another species again. As the tension of battle faded, the full impact of what had happened began to sink in. Humanity hadn't just returned. They had returned as masters of reality itself, having used their exile to evolve beyond what anyone could have imagined. We have much to share, Chen said, her voice softer now. Much to teach. The galaxy has grown and changed in our absence, and we look forward to learning from all of you as well. This isn't a return to dominance. It's a return to guardianship. The coalition ships watched in awe as the human fleet began to disperse throughout the galaxy, their vessels moving to link up with the ancient installations they had left behind. They weren't coming to conquer or control. They were coming to protect, to teach, to guide. The children of Earth have returned, Araya announced, her voice carrying a note of completion. But they're not the same children who left. They've grown up, and now, perhaps, the real story of humanity can begin. Across the galaxy, species that had known humans only as legends watched as a new chapter in galactic history began. The age of myths was over. The age of wonders was about to begin.